Katrina. You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Winner by unanimous decision. He's still undefeated and still the WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Dimitri.
But he was just gutted, devastated, and I said, "What do you want to do?" You know, he said, "I want to rematch Bivol. I know I can beat him." I said, "But you know, obviously you got to be right, because back-to-back defeats for Saul Canelo Alvarez is not a good look. No, I will not lose again."
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So some pretty interesting news. According to boxing reporter Michael Benson, Canelo Alvarez is indicating he won't be fighting against Dimitri Bivol in a rematch in his next fight. Instead, he's going to move down to 168 and fight against the 40-year-old Gennady Golovkin. Now, even though this is not an official announcement, this news wouldn't really surprise that many people, because outside of the judge's help, Canelo Alvarez, he has almost no chance of beating Bivol in a rematch. I mean, the fact that Bivol even offered to come down to 168 and fight Canelo Alvarez in a rematch after Canelo made excuses about the weight, that further proves that even Canelo Alvarez himself knows it's going to be a very difficult challenge to avenge that loss he just took. Now, if Canelo Alvarez does follow through with this plan to fight against Gennady Golovkin next instead of Dimitri Bivol, that means he's going the Oscar De La Hoya route, at least in terms of Oscar De La Hoya losing to Shane Mosley. When Oscar De La Hoya lost to Shane Mosley the first time, and just keep in mind, for those of you guys who don't know, Oscar, he had also lost to Shane Mosley in the amateurs. In fact, Oscar De La Hoya, he felt that Shane Mosley was so good as an amateur that when Oscar went to the Olympic trials, Oscar moved up to a higher weight class so he wouldn't have to fight Shane Mosley again in the Olympic trials. So after Oscar De La Hoya lost to Shane Mosley in the pros, after Shane actually moved up 2 weight classes, by the way. So after Oscar lost to Shane Mosley, Oscar understood, as Eddie put it, back-to-back losses would be a really, really bad look. He decided to not even try to avenge the loss. He ended up not fighting Shane Mosley until 3 years later, after Shane Mosley had already lost to Vernon Forrest. That's when he decided to take the rematch. Right after De La Hoya lost to Shane Mosley, his return bout was against Artur Gatti. Artur Gatti, who had to move up multiple weight classes and was still way smaller than Oscar De La Hoya. That's who Oscar De La Hoya decided to face instead of doing the rematch with Shane Mosley. He followed that up by fighting some guy who had 4 losses on his record. Then he fought Fernando Vargas immediately after Fernando Vargas got knocked out by Felix Tito Trinidad. And just a side note, guys, it wasn't that long ago that Fernando Vargas actually said that Canelo Alvarez is the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. I mean, if he says that, that makes you wonder. If Canelo is the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, who's the worst? Who would he say is the most overrated? I mean, because saying something like that, that's not really giving Mexican fighters too much credit. So once again, just like Oscar De La Hoya did not have the confidence that he would be able to beat Shane Mosley, Canelo doesn't have the confidence that he would be able to beat Bivol at 175 or 168. Now, Eddie Hearn, he was already saying that Canelo Alvarez, regardless if he decides to fight Golovkin, he's going to definitely be fighting against Bivol after that. But regardless if Canelo Alvarez decides to fight Golovkin first, and then he fights Bivol right after that and loses to him again, it's still going to be a bad look no matter what. The only major difference is Canelo Alvarez, he will make more money fighting against Gennady Golovkin right now than fighting him after he ends up losing to Bivol twice. So my main point is, don't be surprised if Canelo completely walks away from the Bivol rematch, or at least he takes it 2 or 3 years from now, like Oscar De La Hoya did when it came to Shane Mosley. But regardless what Canelo Alvarez decides to do, he is in a hell of a conundrum right now. Because even if he doesn't take the Bivol fight, there is going to be an enormous amount of pressure on Canelo Alvarez to take either the David Benavidez fight or the Jamal Charlo fight. Remember, PBC, they offered Canelo Alvarez the biggest 2-fight deal that Canelo has ever had in his career, fighting against Jamal Charlo and then Errol Spence, or actually Errol Spence first at a catchweight of 164, then Jamal Charlo. So the pressure is not going to go away. The walls are still closing in. As long as old media keeps praising Canelo Alvarez as if he's pound for pound #1 or even one of the best fighters in the world, that's just going to make the best fighters at 168 want to fight Canelo even more, because the praise of Canelo Alvarez makes beating him again that much bigger. So old media, they think they're helping him by saying he's still the best, etc., etc. You guys are just making things worse for him. You're putting even more pressure. You're putting more of a target on Canelo Alvarez's back. So let's see what Canelo decides to do. Like I told you guys, regardless if he takes the Bivol fight next, if he takes the Golovkin fight next, there's really nowhere for Canelo Alvarez to go even after the Golovkin fight. You either risk losing to Bivol again, or you deal with, once again, the backlash of not fighting the best guys in your own division at 168. Because he can no longer cherry pick and fight the John Ryders and the Plants, the Smiths, the Yildirams, because Canelo has already been completely exposed by Dimitri Bivol. So let's see what Canelo Alvarez decides to do. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. So to get this hookup, make sure you follow and contact my man Scalp Carolinas on Instagram. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Diki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling and inflammation and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodiki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.